So we should be live. This is the test. This is a live, one of the first we've done. All indications on this end are this live is working and functioning as it should. So what we're going to be doing is going through a couple of simple tasks in Google Sheets. All right, and Google Sheets is a Google's word processing SaaS or online only application. I believe there is a download available if you want to use it on your desktop locally. In fact, there is. But we will be working in the cloud-based, SaaS-based, online only based version of this. And the tasks that we're going to be performing, they'll vary, but more than likely we're going to focus on populating or creating a Google Sheet. We're going to focus on creating, inserting text into the cells of a Google Sheet, fitting the cells to match the size of the amount of text or whatever size you prefer. We're also going to talk about the inserting dates and then sorting information that are contained in the sheets by date. And we're also going to, if time permits, create a bar graph in Google Sheets. So those are some of the things we're going to attempt to address today. So how to make Google Sheets. The very first thing you have to understand is that Google Sheets is free. It's free to use. If you do not have a Google account of any kind, meaning Gmail, YouTube account, any of the products that Google owns or provides, if you have an account with any of those products, then you have access to Google Docs. You simply would log in using the same username and password. In fact, if you're already signed into, let's just say, Gmail, simply visiting or doing a Google search for Google Docs would return at the top of the search results a Google Docs, a docs.google.com, and you click on that link and you'd be taken to the page where I am currently residing. So the first thing we want to do is we're going to create a Google Sheet. It's fairly simple. Once you get to once you've signed in to docs.google.com, you should see a screen similar to this one, and let's just double check that. Let's clear up these typos. Okay, so actually I was in the Drive account. Google docs.google.com. This is where docs.google.com will take you. Okay, and if you come over to the hamburger stack menu, you click on that, you'll see options. You have Google Docs, you have Google Sheets, you have Google Slides, you have Google Forms. Forms, Slides, Sheets, Docs. We want Sheets, so you simply click on Sheets. And this screen is basically showing you, giving you the option of creating a blank sheet, which is what we'll use. And there's also some templates here that Google has created that they provide to you. You click on the template gallery, drop down, and there are more templates that Google has created, broken out by category, project management, education, etc. We're going with the blank version. Okay, and then once you've clicked blank, it'll take a little time to load. You're going to get a blank Google spreadsheet. And the first thing we want to do is just give that a name. We'll call it quikStarts. Sheet. All right, so just like that, we've created a Google Sheet. We've named it quikStarts Sheet. And there's an auto save function in here. You won't see me pressing a save button because Google automatically saves anything that you put into these sheets. You don't have to do anything. Whatever you type in will be saved. Okay. Now what I tend to like to do is change the tab. The default of the tab will be sheet 1. I personally like to change that to data, and there's a variety of reasons why I do that, mostly based on just experiences that I've had over time using spreadsheet applications. As you become more and more a bigger user of spreadsheets, you'll notice that you'll end up with multiple tabs down here in this area. And some of those tabs, as you begin to move from a novice to an intermediate user or an advanced user, your tabs will be sharing data between one another. So it's good to have specific naming conventions for your tabs. I like to use data for the first tab. So what we're going to do is simply this first row, we're going to use that to house the names of the items that we're going to create. This will be considered the header row, right? The header row is usually where you place the names that describe the data that will be contained in the columns. So we're going to call this name of item, okay? And we're going to call this column date, and we're going to call this column amount. And to get the data into these cells, all right, I'm doing nothing more than simply tapping on the cell to highlight it, and then I'm just basically entering the information. Okay, so now what we're going to do is insert some text into this. And before I do that, because this is going to be a header column, I want to do something that's going to make it distinctively different from all of the other data that will be contained in the spreadsheet. So I'm going to make it bold by highlighting it by clicking on 1 and then clicking B from the menu, and it bolds everything that's highlighted, okay, at the same time, as opposed to visiting each cell and then clicking B. You click the number on the row, it highlights the entire row. And then not only the B for bold, but any of these options up here, if they're changed, they will be applied to the entire row. I'd also like to make it a little larger, right? So I'm going to select font size 12. Now, if you notice, when I made the font size 12, something happened to my column, to my cell. The data in the cell is now partially cut off. You can still see that it says name of item, but it's partially cut off. That M is partially cut off. So what you want to do to auto fit the column so that it adjusts to the width of the data, the perfect width, so that you can see all of the data that is in the cell. You simply bring your mouse over to the line that separates column A from column B until it becomes highlighted. You know it's highlighted because it changes. You get this little blue strip, and you also get an arrow. Your cursor turns into an arrow. All right, I'll show you again. My mouse is here. My mouse is next to the B. I have an arrow pointer. When I get close to the vertical line that separates column A from column B, I get a blue strip, and my mouse turns from my pointer to an arrow that's pointing to the right. At that point, you just double tap. And it wasn't a huge difference, but it did move. You can now see that the information contained in this cell, the cell has the entire column now automatically adjusted its width so that all of the information contained in the cell could be seen. And I'm going to show you an even better example of this. I have some data that's on a clipboard that I copied. I'm going to now paste that data directly into this cell. Now you can see what happens. That data has run all the way across, literally off of the page. Okay. It's overriding the column B, column C, and all of these other columns. And if I scroll horizontally to the right, you can see this data, this goes all the way out to column X. We don't want that. We want the data to be seen here. Now, I could do what I just showed you how to do before, which is simply double tap and automatically customize the width of column A so that it would capture all of this information. But I really don't want a column that extends all the way out from A to X. That wouldn't be very efficient. So what we're going to do instead is something called word wrap. Okay, and to do word wrap, you simply select the cell, you come up to the menu, and you find this icon that says text wrapping. You click it, and you have three options: overflow, wrap, and clip. What we want to do is wrap. Now, when I click this, Google Sheets is going to take all of that information that's contained in that cell and shrink it so that it, or wrap it rather, so that it fits. Now, let's see what that looks like. Okay, so it accomplished our goal. However, if you notice, the height of the cell almost 100x in size. It got much taller than it was before, right? So at this point, double clicking, which I just did, is not going to make much of a difference, right? Because the purpose of double clicking and auto fitting the width is to do just that. And as far as Google Sheets is concerned, well, everything is visible. So Google Sheets has done its job by auto sizing. What I'm going to recommend you do is, at this point, it becomes a matter of personal preference. We don't want the data to be stacked so high that it looks like a skyscraper, but we also, we don't want that. But we also don't want it running all the way across the page either. So what we're going to do is place our mouse over the vertical blue strip here, just like we did before. But this time we're not going to double tap. We're just going to left click and drag until the width reaches a size that we think makes sense for our sheet. And I'm going to leave it about midway on column C and let it go. And as you can see, Google Sheets has basically extended the width of that column to match what I requested. And I'm going to leave it right there. And that's where we're going to end this particular live. We'll come back and pick up. We're going to add a date. We're going to add an amount. We're going to create a bar graph. We're going to do some sorting by date, sorting by amount. We're going to auto sum. We're going to do several things. So just look for the next live. Thank you. If you subscribe, you'll be notified when the next live is available. And click the bell button, subscribe button, bell button.